Hello! I've missed you dearly. It's Natalia. Welcome to Life Strategies with Nat for the Entrepreneurial Women. Sorry, I'm wearing my sunglasses because it's a bit bright in sunny Spain. So I'm just going to wear them, so sorry. But welcome to episode 37. I can't believe it. I was on vacation last week, so I'm back, fully recharged, bringing you how you can use the lunar cycle to help you thrive. I'm so excited, and we have a guest expert, Kendra Dahlstrom, and I am just beyond pumped to have her on and share with us her insights and how we can use the lunar cycle to really help us thrive in life or business. So yeah, I've just I'll tell you a little bit before we get started, but I'm going to catch you guys up because I've just been having a great time. I was in Brussels for a convention, never been, country number 23 for me. So I'm just waiting to add her on, so just bear with me. And where else? Oh, it was for a convention, all things wealth and wellness. So I'm going to be in my group. You're going to see lots of changes over there. But anyway, not here to talk about that today. Then I was in Bruges, which is in North Brussels, and it was just stunning. And then I came to Spain with a few friends of mine that I did my MBA and my CPA with. They're off gallivanting on the boardwalk while I do this amazing live with you guys. And let me see, what else? Yeah, we were in Neerga today for the caves. I don't know if anyone's seen them, but it was really, really cool. It's something that I've been meaning to do for quite a long time, actually. I guess since I came to Spain, I've been hearing about them. And I have a few people that, were always telling me that it was beautiful. So, I mean, it was just an amazing time off. And, you really need to do that when, especially if you are running a business, because it's easy to let it kind of take its, take control, but you are in control, remember. So I'm just waiting for Kendra to come on, but let's see. One sec. Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can bring her on here. I love these lives. I remember. It's so fun. Okay, one sec. One sec-a-rooney. I'm curious, does anyone use the lunar cycle currently? Just give me some love if you do. And then let me know if you're watching. Like, give me a hey or give me a hashtag replay if you're watching on replay so I can come and say hello, because I always love to do that and see and check in. So just one sec, team. Hang on one sec, guys. Here she is. Uno momento. Let me just drop the link here for her. So tell me, what have you guys been doing? I've really, really missed you, I have to say. It kind of felt really weird last Tuesday. I'm trying to even think what I was doing. Hang on. Oh, I was traveling to Bruges. And we did this like beer and chocolate tour, and I will never look at chocolate the same. I'll tell you guys about that in a minute. Or another time, I should say. Oh, hang on. Did I not put the... Oops. Hang on one sec. We also just double checked before. Hang on one sec. This is what happens when you try to multitask. Okay, just not sure. Okay. Um, I'm really interested actually about this because as in my own journey, it's the lunar cycle has like I've just encountered people that have used it. So I myself am really interested in hearing what Kendra has to say because it's something that I would love to learn more about myself. And we met probably, I would say, like a few months ago, maybe earlier on this year, and we just knew that. Hi, oh Sakshi, how are you, darling? I missed you. We just knew we had to do something together because we were both. Well, we were both in this coaching space, but I think she definitely has a lot to share that I don't know much about the lunar cycle, to be honest. I've heard wonderful things. I've seen and read a little bit about it, but it's not something that I'm going to pretend that I'm an expert in by any means. And yeah, so where are you guys right now? Let me hear where you guys are at from. Here she is. Let me know where you guys are logging in from. Hi. We'll see you soon. Okay, here she's coming.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry it took me so long. It was
No,
weird.
it's
It was kind of
okay.
funky.
It
Mm-hmm.
it happens sometimes. So hi. It's great to have you. I'm so excited for you to
You
be here.
too. I'm
Um,
so excited to see your background and
I,
just pretend that I'm in Spain.
I know it's just
Oh,
living the dream, I have to say. But you know,
mm,
I,
awesome.
I'm, I will not do justice to like. I want you to tell us about yourself and you know how. Just tell us about you and
Sure.
everything that you're about, so that everyone watching can tune in. I kind of gave them a little bit of an insight into what we were talking about in terms of the lunar cycle and how it can help us thrive in life and business
Yeah.
and wellness. But would love to just, if you could just introduce yourself, and that would be lovely. We can get started.
Yeah. Thank you. It's great to be here, and it's great to be here with all of the lovely women that you have in your group. So, my name is Kendra Dahlstrom, and I really have always been a seeker in terms of just really being connected to spirituality. I've studied probably about 15 different religions throughout my lifetime, trying to figure out which one was the one for me. And in that process, I think as these things typically unfold depending on what your belief systems are. I had a pretty turbulent childhood. I had some toxicity in the home, whether it be abuse, and then some sexual trauma as a child, as well as in my 20s. So definitely, when we talk about coaching, we talk about repetitive patterns and repetitive, lessons and teachers that keep showing up in our life. I definitely had those in the physical form, as well as the mental and even the spiritual form. And not until I got into my 30s did I really decide, like, I was going to step into this calling of mine of being the spiritual warrior. And I didn't know what it looked like or what that meant. I just knew that I had something big really ahead of me, and I wasn't really sure if I could fill the shoes. But I knew that I felt like life honestly would be a struggle otherwise, unless I honored this calling. And I feel like so many people I come across and clients I work with today, I typically hear that story where people feel this yearning or calling to do something. And even if it's just overall wellness and just getting their life into a better place, they feel pulled to that. And if they don't do it, it's almost like anything that could go wrong goes wrong, and sometimes it's not quite that dramatic, but sometimes it's just like these little things just keep happening in your life and it's just not smooth and you're not in flow. And I really think it's because it's the universe, God, whatever you believe in's way of telling you, like, hey, you're being called to do this. It's time to step into doing that. And so that's kind of what happened in my 30s, and met my husband, had my kids a little later in life. And then I was a corporate executive. Most recently, I worked in corporate for 20 years and became a director at a Fortune 500, and really just found myself in I guess Gay Hendricks terms from The Big Leap, for those of you that have read that, I found myself in my zone of excellence, but I wasn't necessarily in my zone of genius. So I was able to thrive, make money, and it's so funny because so many people, even my husband, would say, "Why can't you just be content? Why can't you just be content?" And so I really questioned that because I felt greedy or selfish, and I woke up with it on my heart that I literally heard the answer in my head from God, or whoever it is that you believe speaks to you, and he said, "Kendra, it's not that you're not content, it's that you're capable of so much more."
I love that.
And so that started my journey into actually public speaking. Was the first direction I went, because I did so much speaking in my corporate job, and I was so comfortable speaking in front of groups, and I thought, well, this is a great way to get my message out to a lot of people quickly. And so I did that, and I really spoke on topics like leadership for women, and actually on sexual harassment, because that was part of my story too, really trying to educate people on how these sexual harassment can actually be avoided, and not just the commonplace like cheesy video that you have to watch with a girl in an inappropriate dress, and you answering yes no questions or true false questions. It's like, what happens in, I mean, sometimes that happens, but it's what happens in the real world, like the uncomfortable nuances in the office, and the guy who never really does anything, so you can't go to HR but you don't want to lose your job. Like, what can you do to protect yourself? And I really wanted to take a proactive role in that. Of course, no one was interested in that, and this is before Me Too
Okay.
came out. So
Mm-hmm.
no one was really interested in that. They're like, no, too much liability. Since Me Too, they've been more open. Um, but my journey has even unfolded even more so since then, and people started coming to me for coaching, and I really felt I had been coaching for free for years, doing women's mentorship and organizations for executives, and I thought, well, why not get paid for it? And so I really just fell in love with coaching, and so I do some speaking here and there. However, coaching is really sort of the predominantly my business. And so I am an executive coach and life coach, and I incorporate into that, I am a healer as well. Now, when I work with people, sometimes they're not always like open to that. And those people in your group I know are really well versed in wellness and healing and what that means. So if you were to look at life coaching through the lens that it's really all healing, right? It's all about healing and wellness. I just tend to do, I have some methodologies and practices I use, like the Lunar Cycle, and even some energy work that kind of falls more in the healing realm.
Yeah.
And so I always do it with permission and make sure people are comfortable with it before we dive there. Some executives I work with just want to talk, and that's okay too.
Yeah,
So that's a
absolutely.
little bit about me. So now I run a coaching business, and I speak, and I am doing more and more work in the spiritual and healing realm, because not only have I been feeling pulled to that over the last 6 to 12 months, I really feel like where we're at energetically in sort of a global consciousness, and where we are, even if you look politically, just everything going on, there's a real need for healing.
I
So I'll
100%,
stop there.
I 100% agree with you. And it's funny, I was I heard this other woman speak about numerology, and she said that we are actually in this like period of healing. It's a very feminine
Mm-hmm.
part. But,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, why the lunar cycle? Like, what is it
Yeah.
about? Because I've heard so much about it, and it's starting to, even enter my journey a lot. And so, why the lunar cycle, and how does it really serve as a tool to your overall wellness and healing? And
Yeah. Well, so initially, all I really knew about the lunar cycle was that I loved looking at the moon, and I loved the different phases of the moon, right? And I would notice that I'd always get my cycle. I'd always get my menstruation. Like, I'd always menstruate on the full moon ever since I was in, probably teenager, right? And so I always thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So I remember just always hearing that, well, our bodies are 80% water, and the moon is the lunar is the feminine, and the sun is the masculine. And the moon actually controls the tides, and there's scientific evidence that the moon controls the tides,
mm-hmm.
and the tides get bigger during the full moon. well, then how are we to think that it wouldn't control our bodies as humans, even men, because our bodies are 80% water? So of course there's gonna be some sort of pull. So it makes sense that maybe that would line up with a pull out of your body, which would be the menstruation and the release. So I thought, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. And that's kind of as far as I took it. And I've always found myself a little bit curious, but honestly, because I had studied many, many religions and then I found my heart on Christianity, I felt a little guilty for doing it. So I kind of had to like rationalize that, right? And think about like, who is this part of me that, believes in God and Jesus Christ. And I just want to be really clear that I'm open to all religions. So I support everyone for what they believe and honor that. And that just happens to be what resonates with me, although I love the wisdom of the Hindu and the Buddhism and Judaism and all that. And I thought, well, gosh, how does this work? And after a lot of meditation and a lot of thought, it became so clear to me one day. It's like, well, gosh, if God left no attention unattended to, that's what I believe in, that he created this earth in 7 days and he didn't leave anything unattended to, even the simplest of organisms to the most complex of mammals and animals, then why am I to think that he didn't put the same attention into the moon and the sun and the stars and into even a stone that could have some sort of healing properties, just like he did with food for us. So I thought, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. So it was kind of like, step by step here, a little bit of baby steps towards it. And then what first attracted me actually to the lunar cycle was not just mere curiosity, was actually, I'm going to show this chart here for people, was actually the way that somebody laid it out for me. You can see this. You can see that it's actually circular. So time isn't linear in the lunar cycle. And so I'm just going to let that sink in for a second with your listeners, because that's huge. I know it was for me. Time is actually circular. And so it took off that pressure of this time-bound life that I felt like I was always living. I felt like I was a victim of time. I never had enough. I always had so much to do. And this is before I even had children. So once I had children, it just, obviously magnified. And then starting your own business, you and I'm sure many people in the group here know the challenges with that. So it's like, I just felt like I was always a victim of time. There was never enough. So for me, the fact that like even just looking at the circle, like, I just felt like a breath of fresh air come into me. And I just felt like there was so much compassion and grace and forgiveness in the fact that you could look at time as a circle. You could look at it as circular instead of linear. That was just really attractive to me, because I knew I needed more compassion in my life in terms of time.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of, it's time or money. Those are the number two, like those are the two most common, I'm going to say excuses, or because I was victim of it too. If I'm a recovering workaholic, I like to say, but like time you feel is so finite, but looking at it like that, even just hearing you say it and talk about it as a cycle, it does take the pressure off, and you kind of just let yourself, okay, I'm okay. Like it's all going to be fine,
Right, definitely. And so that was sort of the first step, right? And then as I learned more about it and I started learning about the different phases, it really helped me sort of, because I'm a planner. So it also sort of fed into my planning in terms of like, oh, every new moon, I know it's a time to set seeds and intentions for what I want to accomplish over this next cycle, what I want to release, what I want to invite in. And what do I need to support me in doing both of those things? Now, some people go more than that, like what you want to honor, what you want to wonder about. Like there's a lot of beautiful questions. So you could pick what resonates with you. But I chose those three because I knew if I choose more than that, it was overwhelming. So I thought if I can just focus on releasing something and inviting in something, and then just say, okay, what do I need to support both of those things to happen?
And
then that keeps it simple.
And just kind of like going on that, do you have a personal story or a client story or both that you want to share with us that kind of really solidified this transformation in your overall wellness using the lunar cycle as a tool, as this tool that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I have both actually. And before I do that, do we have time for me to go into a little more detail?
Of course, of
Okay,
course.
okay. I just don't know how much time we had. So I'll show you here. So here, like, it always starts at the new moon, okay?
Okay.
And the new moon is when you set seeds and intentions, right? So you
Mhm.
invite in and you release. And then what you do is then you move towards the first quarter moon. And as you're moving towards that, that's really it's called the waning gibbous moon. And that's really the phase where you really want to focus on anchoring in what your new moon intention is, okay?
Mm.
And right here is when it's interesting because this page is actually for symbols, so you can track your days, which is really interesting what you start doing because you'll start to notice patterns over the cycles.
Wow.
Right here is usually where you'll start to hit roadblocks, and the
Mm.
reason is because what they say is the feminine and masculine energy is square, so they're facing off each other. Okay,
Oh.
so the energy is square, they're facing off each other. This is where your teachers are going to show up. What's getting in the way of you achieving your new moon intention, right?
So
and
interesting.
and and so what most of us do is we resist it,
Mhm.
and so then we hide, and this is totally normal, there's no judgment here, it's not punitive, but we hide, and then we just kind of go back to the way, oh, maybe that I was taking on too much, maybe I really can't do that, I'm just going to go back to the way I was living. Or we try to just like muscle through it, like, and ignore the teacher and just say, I'm going to make this work and I'm going to force it, which has been my style for a lot of my life because I'm a go-getter, high
Guilty.
achiever, right? So what happens is you're not listening to the lesson. So you're never going to
Mm.
achieve the goal. So if you can just use this time, and that's why I love this, because it builds compassion into the tool. So if you can really look at it and say, oh my gosh, this is showing up because I need to pay attention to this. Maybe I need to revise my new moon attention, or maybe I just need to really work on this and clear it out of the way. So
Mhm.
then I can move down into what is called going inward. And then this is when you go at your new moon intention with all your heart and you have full embodiment, right? At the
Oh,
full moon
okay.
of your new moon
Yeah.
intention. So whether you believe it or not, you're embodying it. And this is like, let's say if you want to make $50,000 in your business,
Mhm.
let's say that's your goal.
Mhm.
Things are showing up for you. You have to work with what's showing up for you. And usually it's inward, internal stuff, quite frankly. It may manifest outside of you, but it's usually a reflection of something that's going on inside of you.
Mm.
And then once you work through that, this is the day you want to schedule all your calls. You want to close all your business these few days right before this and this.
Okay.
Now, you may also notice that after the new moon, full moon, you're maybe tired
Mm.
because it just like a wave, it's, for those that are familiar with duality and wellness, just like a wave, you have to have the crest of the wave to have, the trough of the wave, and vice versa. What goes up must come down. So it's normal, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's human. And so that really helped me too to better understand. I've always worked in these creative surges, which happens here, and these waves of energy, and then I'm just tired for a few days. And I've always thought, gosh, why can't I just be more normal and steady state? And I would kind of judge myself for that. And this process has really allowed me to be like, oh, this is normal. I'm going to be depleted for a few days. I'm going to have energy. I'm going to be depleted. It just accepting what it is and just using it, just going with it, you know?
Yeah. I yeah.
So go ahead. Do
No,
you
no,
have a
no.
question?
No, no, no. I'm
Okay, I'm
I'm
just
just
going to
like
finish and then
super
we can
fast.
talk.
Yep. Go for it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And so then once you get into the full moon, this is again when it's at full feminine power, right? It receives the full light of the sun.
Mhm.
So you're accepting and receiving everything. So it's really important that you're also doing that in whatever it is that you're doing in your life. It's the peak of creativity, as I said. And then as you move into here, it's sort of, you want to consider what continues to need to be released because there's still be some residual stuff that showed up over here. And you want to pay attention to those roadblocks because as you go into the waning quarter moon, this is when the light disseminates, and it's a call to go inward to get the final answers and grant permission to yourself to speak your truth. Okay,
Wow.
so grant permission to yourself to speak your truth, share yourself and your emotions. So this is really important that you do that in order to complete the cycle. And then this is when you go into full surrender. And so I just want to distinguish, there's a difference between submissiveness and surrender. So submissiveness is when you feel like I have to submit, I'm going to give up, like this whole thing I created over here isn't happening, so I just have to surrender to what is. That's a victim role, right? That's submission.
Yeah.
Surrender is proactively saying, I'm just going to love what is. I'm going to use what's here. I'm trusting that it's here for a reason, and that this intention is going to still support me. Maybe through the next lunar cycle, I'll still focus on it. Maybe it's just not time yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue, and I'm going to trust and surrender to that. And so it just takes away that negativity.
Yeah.
And then as you go into the new moon again, that's when you set a new intention. So it's a full cycle that can support you. And we can talk about healing in a minute and wellness. But for me, it's a full cycle that's just very forgiving. It gives me a fresh start every month, even if I don't achieve my goals. But I've always learned something because I'm paying attention, and it gives me a plan. So I'll stop. I know that was a lot.
I love that. No, because it makes so much sense, because I mean everything is in cycles, and I love that you gave the difference between submission and surrender, because a lot of us, I mean, I see it with my clients too, we don't realize the difference, and we feel guilty, and all these other things come in. And I just want to read what Sakshi said. She said, love this, amazingly said. Moon doesn't consider one phase better than another. It just, oh, it's a long one. It just glows, equally stunning at each turn. So why should we be any different? Just like the moon life goes through phases, whether we like it or not. From our darkest moments until once again shine bright, we learn to embrace both the darkness and the light, dancing through each cycle to the rhythms of life. Therefore, like moon, we must go through phases of emptiness to feel full again. So we should confront the dark parts of ourselves and work to banish them with illumination and forgiveness. Ultimately, our willingness to wrestle with our demons will cause our angels to sing. That's beautiful. I love that.
Oh. Yeah, I love that. And that's so true. And so that goes into the story I was going to share.
Yeah.
Unless you have a question. Okay. So the story, the beautiful transition, because that's exactly what came up for me, is I had so much judgment as I was trying to work through that first quarter phase of like, nope, I'm just going to power through this. I'm going to make it happen. And actually, this was about a year ago when I actually was starting to think about like using the lunar cycle. I was using it for myself, but actually coming out about it, like, and using it with my clients and talking about it with people like you. I had a lot of judgment again about my using that, and that's what came up for me, was all this fear and these roadblocks of like religion and just other things. And I just really used the lunar cycle actually to help guide me through developing my business. So I actually use it as a business tool too, in addition to actually with clients and healing. So it can be used in a variety of ways. And I used it as a tool to help me sort of come up with that next big thing. And it turned out that next big thing is talking about this. So it's really kind of beautiful. And since I've done that, I have noticed, I'm not going to say I'm making millions of dollars now, because that wouldn't be true, but I've noticed client creation is so much easier. It's so much more fun. It's effortless. I'm in flow through the day. I still have my days where I get stressed out and I get depleted and I get tired. So, I'm human.
Yeah.
However, I have noticed a big shift and weight lifted off of me, where it feels like, okay, I'm in my genius zone. I'm actually, doing what I'm really supposed to be doing. So that's a story about me, and how it sort of led to abundance and prosperity, whether it also be in money and time in my life. With several clients, I've been using this. I actually am starting a 5-week course where we're using this in the lives of these women that are in a group that I have, and they joined early. And so I didn't want them just to sit for 3 weeks and not get anything from me. So I said, let's just start early. We haven't officially started the group yet, but let me just give you tools and let's just play. And so that's what we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And one of them has literally shifted her money story from a place of lack and scarcity and fear and as she worked through this cycle and used this cycle, she actually found that when she came to this spot here, which is when all the first, like the first challenges hit you. Now, mind you, it'll hit you sometimes gradually. For me, sometimes it's like a 2x4. So like, it's like if I'm going to get in an argument with my husband, I know it's usually it's crazy. It's usually always going to be like that day or the day before or after. It's just like, seriously. But it's just like sometimes it hits you in the head like a 2x4. And so and so with that, with her, what came up for her was suddenly the realization that she was associating people with money with greed and crude behavior, and sort of all, she knows it's not true, but all these beliefs that she had created as a child because either her parents had said things or she was sort of taught things or been around people who were had money that were not respectful, were really not really responsible with the money, not really understanding of people who didn't have money, just all these things. And so she's like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm not wanting to make money. I'm not getting clients who have money because I have all these beliefs around people with money. So that's what really showed up for her really strong. And she had a few tough days, where she was kind of messaging me back and forth, and I was supporting her through it and just working through the process to really release that and inviting in sort of this new feeling and experience she wants to have. And then she went into full embodiment of actually owning that feeling, like, and that, and recognize, and at the same time recognizing it wasn't true. Like, I'm gonna own this feeling. Like, how does it feel to feel this way? It doesn't feel good, so I'm gonna make a choice and choose otherwise. And then the last quarter moon was when she sort of did all that inward work and then went to full surrender of, okay, I surrender. I don't know what is true. Like,
Yeah.
my story's not true. And so now she's actually been able to shift her money story. So, and I have tons of stories like that. One that's I've been working on a relationship with her family member, and it's been a challenging relationship, and really working through the understanding and the compassion of that. So like your the person that posted said it so eloquently, it has such a beautiful way of illuminating and then having this dark side. And instead of looking at the dark side as something we always want to run and hide from and avoid and neglect, it gives us the opportunity to look at it as a teacher. And actually, I get excited when that stuff comes up now because I'm like, oh, once I work on this, it's more light,
I That's so
you know?
true. That's so true because, with every struggle there is light. Like, it's just about getting through it and, using that surrender versus
Mm-hmm.
um
Control.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
but you are so much more in control than you realize. And I think I'm going to actually start using this as a tool because I can see, like, even as I reflect, things do come in waves. And, if you can work
Mm-hmm.
with the wave and just accept it for what it is and where you're at, and what's coming to you and what's being taught to you, struggles and all, you're that much more open. You have this, I think you build this inner strength within you that allows you to kind of to just see yourself through it, even though it's going to be like, there are going to be those terrible days because we are
Mm-hmm.
human, like you said. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Kendra, this was
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah. No,
amazing.
it's been really, really awesome. And so, what I will do is that this is the end of the 2019 calendar. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think you can only buy them digitally now. This is from the lady I get them from.
Oh, okay.
And we only have literally like what, so we have, we're, it's September, we have September, October, November, December. So their 2020 calendars are out and available for orders. So I can drop that link here.
That'd be awesome.
I'm actually looking to become a wholesaler, so
Oh, that would be amazing.
yeah, because I do so much of this and I give them to people. But what I can do is I can scan. I have a PDF of these pages. I can scan them and I can drop them in the group for you, so you
That'd
guys
be
can just
amazing.
use um, one of them just for this year to try and see like how it
Mm-hmm.
works for you. I also, it's a lot of information, so if they have questions, just tag me or just reach out. There's pages to actually, in addition to this, where you actually do the inhale of the moon and the exhale, which is the first phase. So inhale is like taking it all in, digesting. Exhale is like, how do I release it and like go and work with it, right? To surrender. And so this is like diary pages where you can just, I write words. Sometimes I write words on my orbit. So like control, surrender, just to kind of keep track of like where I'm at. Or if I have like a crow that keeps crossing my path and I think it's kind of interesting, I'll write crow. I'll just kind of write words that of things that really stand out for me the day. And then there's symbols that she has created here that are pretty cool that represent different things. And so that's what you write on that circular chart, because it gets to be a lot when you put words in there.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for instance, for me, I'll do meditation, workout, self-care. If I have a breakthrough, breakdown, if I do a cleanse, if I do use my yoni egg, depression, anxiety, there's so many of them. So you start to kind of figure out which ones work for you. And then what's really beautiful about it is I'll show you, it's kind of messy looking, but as you move through it, you'll start to notice your patterns, and especially month after month. So this is mine. It kind of gets messy. Right,
Wow.
with all the
That's
symbols,
so
but you
cool
start,
though.
and then you put how many hours you sleep, and then I start to notice that I'm always depleted a few days after the new moon, and then again after the full moon. I usually have a day or two where I'm spacey, and then she has a symbol for inward reflection, which I'm always doing right around here. And then right here, I'm always outward, which is full moon, which makes sense. And then
Mm-hmm.
right after the full moon, I'm always doing both. I'm inward and outward. It's kind of, for me, it's about like, how do I make sense of things? I think that's kind of
Yeah.
what works for me as I move into this. So it's just kind of nice as you start to see your patterns, you start to learn about yourself, what works for you. Now I know to plan my calendar for a few days after the new moon and the full moon, like not to have 9 to 5 meetings, like
Right.
all day long. Like
Right.
if I have one call, like have it just be one call,
Mm-hmm.
and give myself space and time, because sometimes I end up either getting sick or just feel depleted, or I'm just having a rough day.
Yeah.
Not always, but,
Yeah.
and then if I don't, then I have that time to do something else.
I love the
So just the
fact.
forgiveness.
Yeah. No, I love that I love that we brought in emotions into this too, because it's so important to balance your healthy emotions. And I use essential oils to do that all the time. But
Me too. Yeah.
having I think for a lot of people it's the tracking sometimes of your patterns that becomes like, for some people it's really painful. And I love that you can just use
Mhm.
symbols and
Mhm.
this worksheet basically to really just simplify it. And like when I just saw yours, I was like, how cool is that? Like you can just take this bird's
Yeah.
eye view and just be like, holy, like what is going on? And I'm sure because you probably have months and months worth just to
Yeah.
go back and be like and see how far you've come, and as how your patterns
Mhm.
have changed and evolved just by you either investing in yourself or giving yourself, allowing yourself more self-care, allowing yourself to
Mhm.
take a more holistic approach to your life and not be victim to things like time mindset, like money mindset is a huge one for people. Hey
Mhm.
Barbara, hey Becky.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there's, she gives you there's a page in here that I love. It says get to know your orbits.
Mm,
So again, it's about the duality, like we had
yeah,
talked about. You can't have
yeah,
light without darkness. They're one,
yeah,
right? Sadness and joy, one. And so is acceptance and resistance. So is confusion and clarity. So is playful and serious, right? So she has this list here. And so what it's really, again, is built in the compassion to wellness is that you can't be heavy without being uplifted. Like it's all one. You may not feel it. Like you may be on the heavy side, but it's the same as uplifted.
mm-hmm.
And so once you start to look at it that way and be a little more compassionate with yourself, as you start to see that you're like, oh, on my chart I see control, 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 overwhelm, and I feel like I'm on the negative side of the orbit. I really realize that, well, wow, those are the same as surrender, and those are the same as calm. And
Mm-hmm.
so I need to just recognize that, and I can bring myself to the other side.
Oh, I'm totally getting
So
one of these
I,
calendars.
yeah, no,
FYI.
they're amazing. So I can definitely drop the link. In terms of like, healing, I think we talked a
Mm,
lot about like the releasing and
yeah.
the letting go and this and that. But there are a few practices, and I can, let me grab them. I wanted just to read them, that I can post in the group for you guys that I'm actually sharing when I speak at the Healing Arts Festival this weekend.
Amazing.
So the healing aspect would be like, as you invite in, right, with the new moon, it can be wellness, right? It doesn't have to be like a relational thing or money thing. I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
There's no judgment. And it can be something different every month, you guys. It doesn't have to, it depends on how you're feeling. Like if you still want to work on something, or if you feel like I feel like I've got a good handle on that, let's move to something else. But you can invite in health and wellness. You can invite in well-being, right? You can invite in all these things, and you can release the hurt and the illness. And we know that at a cellular level, hurt and pain is stored in our body and can cause illness and disease and all these things, right? So this is a really good opportunity to do that. As you go into towards the first quarter moon, it's a great time for visualizations and anchoring in that intention. So it'd be a great time for affirmations and visualizations of you in good health, of you in the wellness that you want to be in, whether it's in relationship, whether it's in financial wellness, whether it's in personal wellness, mental wellness, whatever it is. And then as you go into the quarter moon, when you look at your teacher, like I said, it's not always a negative thing. As this thing comes up for you, how is it related to what you want to heal? Ask yourself that question. How is this related to what I'm wanting to heal? Because there's a connection there. And then as you go into like towards the full moon, you'll probably want to put aside some more time on your calendar to really just go inward and kind of work through that resistance a little bit, especially if you're dealing with healing. You may have some downtime before that full moon, because the full moon is and is basically created for our peak of creativity, our peak of alchemy, of creation. So your body's literally like getting ready for that. So you may need some time, especially if you're dealing with some sort of health or wellness issue that you're looking to heal, to kind of allow some time on your calendar for that. And then as you go into the full moon, embody that wellness. Like really meditate and imagine as if even if you're not already, like you're already well. I mean, in Einstein's time, you're already well, right? So let's just embody that. And then as you move towards the last half, you want to release what's left to heal. Like what else is coming up for you? What's residual? And then as you go into the very end, I love to, I journal daily through the whole thing, but I love to really journal daily at this point, because you want to be able to reflect on what you've accomplished. Because by the end of the cycle, even if it feels like you haven't accomplished much, there's a lot that you've already accomplished. And then at the very end, it's going, obviously going into full surrender of of your wellness. Like you are well, it's just this thing keeps showing up and you're resisting it, and so you're making yourself not well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not always the case. I mean, there's some really critical issues, like when people have cancer or other things, and there's obviously some debate out there as to whether or not that can be managed or not through this. Although I do know I'm actually going to be doing some work with a local cancer center on using this, because I want to support people as much as I can through holistic practices in this.
That's amazing, Kendra. Like you've given us like so much value here. It's just no, really. Like I need to have you back for sure, because
I'd love to.
This was just beyond phenomenal. Like I've learned so much, and I'm sure everyone listening has learned a ton and is looking at this very differently in terms of just as we said, like how can you use the lunar cycle to help you thrive in life or business. And I'd love
I'm so excited to be here.
If you could also sort of share with us, like if anyone did want to get in touch with you, because I feel like I'm gonna be in your inbox immediately after this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish we had so much more time.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely come back, because you guys, this is a lot. Like I gave it to the girls in my group, and they're like, whoa. And so I actually skipped a week of giving them information, because I was like, let's just digest that. So this is a lot. So yeah, if people want to reach out to me, obviously they can reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. You can also email me at Kendra, that's Kendra, at KendraDahlstrom.com. That's fine too. I do all of my own ops stuff right now, just because I like it that way. And then I am running a group, like I said, the 5-week group, and it starts October 7th, so in a few weeks, and there are 3 spots left in that if people are interested. Typically I would run that group at about $1,200, just because of this process is a use it, learn it once, and go on your own. It's not like something where you would ever, I mean, if you wanted to hire a coach to go deeper, you could, and I use it with my clients, but it's not like something where you have to, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. It's sort
Yeah.
of like it's a use it and take it and run type thing. So usually the group's about 1,200. I'm offering it for 720.
Amazing.
And you get 2 private sessions, actually 3 private sessions as part of that. And it's $720 for the 5 weeks. So there's 3 spots left in that. If someone's interested, reach out to me. I am not a high pressure salesperson. We'll have a conversation to see if it's a fit. How does it support you? How is it going to help you meet your needs? It may not be a fit, and I'll make a recommendation of something else that may. If it is, that's awesome. But there's zero rush on my side to make it happen for you.
Amazing.
It's all about what you want. So there's that. And then I also do, I do take 12 private clients a year. And some of them move into apprenticeship type relationships where I also teach this and how to use it in their business as well as it with their clients. So for instance, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever onboard a new client anywhere in the cycle, but the best times to do it are probably going to be the new moon and the full moon. Because if you do it at that first quarter moon where there's a bunch of challenges and things coming up, it's not the end of the world, but you can imagine there's going to be a lot of fear, there's going to be a lot of roadblocks, there's going to be a lot of things coming up, whether it's for them, whether or not they want to enroll, or whether or not it's just like in the relationship as you start. So I even use it for things like that. So you can get really creative with it. There's lots of ways to reach out to me, and I do speak. So if anyone's hosting, some kind of event and they're interested in having this, I do virtual as well as in-person workshops.
Amazing.
Whether they be quick or long. And we'll do something again, Natalia. We'll follow up on this because there's a lot of information here. I am looking to become, like I said, like a wholesaler of this calendar because I didn't create it myself, but I love it. And working with her as well as I'm not a certified trainer under her program, but I'm looking into doing that just because I love it so much.
Well, you can tell your passion is like, it's beaming from the screen. Like I can feel it coming through. But I mean, if you want to drop any links like below this video too, and that especially, to the, to your invitation for those 3 spots, because, I can only imagine the value that's going to be there just from even this short time that we've had together. So I just want to thank you so much for coming. Was there anything you wanted to leave us with before we kind of end today? And
let's let me think where we are in the cycle. So right now, I was just thinking, that's just kind of coming to me. So right now we just ended the full moon. So we're going towards the, or on the waning gibbous moon is what it's called. So it's like where it's kind of still big, but you're not at a quarter moon yet. It's called quarter moon, but it really looks like a half moon. And so this is the time where things are going to show up that are wanting to be healed. So I have a saying, I say, what wants to be healed will be revealed. And so things are going to show up that want to be healed. So it could be in the form of resistance. It could be a form of an argument. It could be a form of just like things not going your way. Maybe your schedule, like everything's kind of falling apart and you're feeling like you don't have enough time. Well, what's wanting to be healed is maybe your time. Maybe the fact that you're overbooking yourself. Maybe the fact that you want more space in your life and that you feel like by doing this you're actually accomplishing more. Maybe you're not. So it's a really good time. So I would just invite you all to go inward and just look at what is being revealed to you or today and over the next few days, because that is what's wanting to be healed. It's there as a teacher so that you can release it. And I just want to just give you all love and light and just ask that, any negativity or any energy that's attached to you in whatever form, just go back into the nothingness from which it came. So I just want to leave you guys with that.
That's beautiful. I want to give you a hug. I'm giving you a virtual hug.
I would love to be in Spain right now and give you a hug and go have a coffee or something. Looks beautiful there.
Oh my God. It was
beautiful.
It is. I'm so blessed. Like, and it's part of my gratitude, like each and every day. But you know, I just
Yeah.
thank you so, so much for this, because
You're
it's been
welcome. Thank you.
absolutely tremendous. And
Yeah.
I can't thank
It's
you
fun.
enough. And I'm sure everyone listening
Yeah.
feels the same. So have a
Yeah,
wonderful
I will
rest of the
definitely drop
day.
some links.
Yes.
I have another call after this, but
Okay.
I promise you guys I will get them today by 4 p.m. Pacific.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And you have an amazing time and connect when you get back.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Bye.
great day.